After a great flood, the world's first civilization to emerge was the Sumerian Mesopotamian civilization. This ancient civilization is believed to be the origin of all modern humans, known as Homo sapiens. This means that every person today has some ancestral connection to the Sumerians. This is because people from every part of the world can trace their ancestry back to East Africa. Recent archaeological discoveries have even pointed to the biblical Garden of Eden being located between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in what is now modern-day Iraq, part of the Middle Eastern region in Africa. The Sumerians were groundbreaking in many ways. They were the first to create a highly organized society following the flood. One of their major contributions was the invention of cuneiform writing, one of the earliest systems of writing known to humanity. They also made significant technological advancements that greatly influenced future civilizations. These include the development of the wheel, the plow, irrigation systems, and sailboats. In addition to these innovations, the Sumerians constructed impressive architectural structures known as ziggurats. They also established complex legal and administrative systems that helped manage their society. The Sumerians were skilled in various crafts, including brewing beer, working with metals, and producing textiles. They held a belief in powerful, mysterious beings called the Anunnaki, which translates to those who came from heaven. These beings were worshipped as gods and featured prominently in the earliest known mythological stories. Joseph Campbell, a noted mythologist, discussed in his book, The Power of Myth, that ancient cultures across different continents shared similar origin stories and myths about gods. These connections can be traced back to the Sumerians, who were often referred to as the black-headed people and sometimes called the Sun People or Adamites in ancient texts. Imagine traveling back in time to the fertile plains of ancient Mesopotamia and Sumer. Picture a landscape rich in greenery and agricultural abundance. Visualize the advanced arts, sciences, and cultural achievements of the Sumerians, a society that existed before ancient Egypt and Greece. Envision the city-states of Ur, Uruk, and Eridu, each showcasing the unique creativity and innovation of the Sumerians. After the Great Flood, this first civilization transformed basic materials like mud and clay into extraordinary architectural structures, including towering ziggurats that seemed to reach towards the sky. The cities of Sumer were marked by grand temples where priests communicated with the gods. Scholars recorded their knowledge and stories using cuneiform writing on clay tablets, making significant contributions to human history. The cuneiform writing system, which appeared around 3500 BCE, is one of the earliest known writing methods. This system involved pressing a wedge-shaped tool, or stylus, into wet clay tablets to create distinct wedge-like marks. At first, cuneiform was mainly used for recording trade transactions and managing accounts. However, it soon evolved into a more flexible script that was used to write about a wide variety of subjects. The Sumerians used cuneiform to document religious hymns, laws, historical events, and administrative records. Some of the most famous works written in cuneiform include the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Sumerian King List. The adaptability of cuneiform helped it remain in use for many centuries across different Mesopotamian and Sumerian cultures, influencing how writing and communication developed over time. In 2020, the Oxford Institute reported that there are still 700 cuneiform tablets that have not been translated or fully understood. Most of the tablets that have been translated and are available for public viewing are displayed in England, while the majority of the untranslated tablets are kept in the Vatican's underground archives. The city of Ur, an important site in ancient Mesopotamia, is also famous for being the legendary home of Abraham, who is considered a key figure in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Abraham and his followers carried stories of their ancestors as they journeyed from southern Iraq through Syria and into Egypt, eventually settling in the land of Canaan, which is now modern-day Israel. Around 200 years ago, European archaeologists began exploring the Middle East, focusing on regions such as Egypt in North Africa and southern Mesopotamia, now part of modern Iraq. They were looking for sites mentioned in the Bible, writings by Greek historians like Herodotus and Strabo, and accounts from medieval and Renaissance travelers such as Benjamin of Tudela and Pietro de la Valle. Although names like Babylon, Nineveh, and Ur were known, their precise locations were unclear at the time. By the early 1800s, significant discoveries were made. For example, English archaeologist Claudius James Rich mapped the ruins of Babylon and Nineveh, uncovering bricks, tablets, clay cylinders, and boundary stones with unfamiliar markings. Similar findings were made in Iran at sites like Persepolis and Behistun. Scholars soon realized that these markings were forms of ancient writing. Deciphering one of these scripts, Old Persian, helped researchers understand other scripts as well. The writings found in Babylon and Nineveh were identified as Akkadian, which was also known as Babylonian, while another script was identified as Elamite. Akkadian, a Semitic language related to Hebrew and Arabic, was eventually understood. By the mid-19th century, scholars began to suspect that cuneiform, which was the written form of Akkadian, was not developed by the Babylonians and Assyrians themselves but by an earlier civilization. This led to the discovery of the Sumerians, who were identified as the creators of the earliest cuneiform script and considered the mother civilization of the Babylonians and Assyrians. Around 700 to 600 BC, people began moving south along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers to the fertile floodplains of Mesopotamia, which is now part of Iraq and northern Syria. Mesopotamia, which means land between rivers, was an excellent place for large-scale farming due to the rich, fertile soil that resulted from the river's flooding. Farming had already been practiced for thousands of years in the Near East, particularly in a region known as the Fertile Crescent. This area extends from the eastern Mediterranean through Turkey and northern Iraq to the Persian Gulf, and was known for its productive land point. One of the early farming communities in central Mesopotamia was the Samarra culture, named after the site where it was first discovered. This culture dates back to between 6500 and 5500 BC. Samarra pottery is notable for its unique style, which often features geometric designs representing natural phenomena. The early farmers of the Samarra culture constructed irrigation canals to manage the flow of rivers and streams. Another prominent culture from this period was the Halaf culture, which was active between 6500 and 5500 BC, with some estimates narrowing the period to 5700 to 5000 BC. Like the Samarra culture, the Halaf people are known for their distinctive and beautiful pottery, which was widely traded throughout the Fertile Crescent. In exchange, they received goods such as obsidian, bitumen, and seashells. The Halaf culture also produced some of the earliest examples of stamp seals. After 600 BC, significant changes began in southern Mesopotamia that laid the groundwork for the development of civilization. One key development was the emergence of the Ubaid culture, named after the site of Tel al-Abaid near what would later become the Sumerian city of Ur. The Ubaid culture flourished from 5500 to 4000 BC. The origins of the Ubaid people are not entirely clear, but they likely migrated from other parts of the Fertile Crescent. Most Ubaid settlements were small villages, but by the late 5th to early 4th millennium BC, some of these villages grew into towns with populations of nearly 5,000 residents. The Ubaid people grew crops like wheat, barley, and lentils, and raised livestock such as cattle, goats, and sheep. Typical Ubaid villages featured several single-story houses and larger storage facilities. Many Ubaid sites included a central earthen mound with a small building, which is believed to be an early form of temple and a precursor to the ziggurat. The Ubaid culture was also known for its unique hand-painted pottery and crafts, including figurines. Ubaid pottery was highly valued and found in various locations throughout the Middle East, including Turkey, Iran, Syria, and the southeastern Arabian Peninsula. Much of what is known about the Ubaid culture comes from the ruins of Eridu, a city that was considered very ancient and was famously associated with the celestial water god Enki in Sumerian mythology. According to the Sumerian king list, Eridu was the first city where kingship was established. Archaeologists have found evidence suggesting that Eridu may have been inhabited as early as 800 BC, making it over 10,000 years old. During the Ubaid period, Eridu was an ideal settlement location due to its fertile land for farming and abundant fish from nearby marshes close to the Gulf. At that time, the shores of the Persian Gulf were much further inland, making the area seem like a paradise in the otherwise harsh desert environment. In its earliest days, Eridu was a small village with a humble shrine dedicated to the water god Enki. Archaeological excavations have revealed that this sanctuary started as a modest brick room, less than 8 square meters in size. Inside, there was an altar and a stand for ritual offerings. Evidence of ashes and fish bones found at the site suggests that these offerings were part of religious rituals performed by the early inhabitants of Eridu. It is believed that the people of Eridu held communal feasts to honor Enki, where they would gather together to pray, sing, and make music in his name. Among all the male gods worshipped by the Sumerians, Enki was the most beloved. According to ancient traditions, Enki, the water god, is credited with creating the black-headed people of modern-day India and Africa. These people are considered the closest ancestors to the Sumerians, along with the Ethiopians. As the village of Eridu grew in size and importance, so did the temple dedicated to Enki. BY around 4500 BC, the temple had been elevated onto a platform about a meter high and continued to expand over the centuries. Eventually, it developed into a ziggurat, which is a step-like pyramid. As Eridu prospered, it began to attract travelers and merchants from different regions. These visitors would come to Eridu's temples, such as the one dedicated to Enki, to make offerings and trade goods. They brought items from their own villages to either donate to the temple or exchange for local goods, such as barley, sheep, or Eridu's distinctive pottery. One example of international trade during this period was copper, a highly valuable metal that was not found in southern Mesopotamia. Copper had to be imported from regions like modern-day Oman or Turkey. Remarkably, during the Ubaid period, artisans in Eridu were already skilled in forging basic copper items. Another imported material was obsidian, which likely came from Turkey. Most early settlements in the region were small, typically housing only a few hundred people. However, Eridu was an exception, as was Tel Zaydan in Syria, which both had populations of around 3,000. Less than 1,000 years later, ancient Mesopotamia saw the rise of cities with populations in the tens of thousands. One such city was Uruk, located less than 200 kilometers northwest of Eridu. Zechariah Sitchin, a well-known researcher and author of Sumerian history, presented a controversial theory in his book The 12th Planet, the first in his Earth Chronicles series. Although his ideas were initially ridiculed, they have sparked significant interest. Sitchin proposed that the Anunnaki, whom the Sumerians referred to as gods, were not mythical beings but rather advanced extraterrestrial humanoids. According to his interpretation of the Sumerian text, the 7 Tablets of Creation, which he claimed served as a template for the modern Bible, the Anunnaki came from a distant red planet that was in desperate need of salvation. Sitchin referred to this planet as the 12th celestial body in our galaxy, and he suggested that it passes near Earth approximately every 3,000 years, or 1 shar as per Sumerian timekeeping. Zechariah Sitchin proposed a controversial theory suggesting that the Anunnaki were not just creators of humanity, but also genetic engineers who played a crucial role in shaping human evolution. According to Sitchin, around 250,000 years ago, the Anunnaki modified primates in Africa, setting the foundation for the development of modern humans. While his belief in the ancient alien theory was widely criticized during his lifetime, some recent discoveries have led a portion of the scientific and historical communities to reconsider aspects of his work. In Sitchin's Earth Chronicles series, he discusses how the Anunnaki shared their advanced technology with the Sumerians, a civilization that revered them as gods. The Anunnaki, tall and powerful beings with godlike intelligence, amazed the Sumerians with their similar appearance and advanced knowledge. Before spreading across the earth to establish new civilizations, the Anunnaki first taught the Sumerians a range of advanced skills. This exchange of knowledge sparked significant technological advancements and cultural growth within Sumerian society. The Sumerians, skilled artisans in their own right, created intricate pottery and sculptures that reflected their advanced society and deep reverence for their extraterrestrial mentors. A thriving economy and a society as complex as Sumer could not have existed without an efficient system of transportation. The Sumerians utilized the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, along with an artificial network of canals, for the transportation of people, goods, and livestock. Some of the earliest visual depictions show what are believed to be the world's first boats. According to early texts, the Sumerians were also engaged in deep-water seafaring, using various types of ships to reach distant lands. They sought metals, rare woods, stones, and other materials that were not available in Sumer itself. An Akkadian dictionary of the Sumerian language even contained a section on shipping, listing 105 Sumerian terms for different types of ships, categorized by size and purpose. In 1956, Professor Samuel Kramer, one of the most renowned Sumerologists of his time, examined the literary legacy found beneath the ancient mounds of Sumer. In his work, From the Tablets of Sumer, Kramer presented a table of contents that highlighted 25 chapters, each describing a Sumerian first in the recorded history of humanity. These firsts include the establishment of the first schools, the first instance of tax reduction, the first legal precedent, the first written law codes, and the first case of social reforms. The Sumerians were also credited with creating the first pharmacopoeia, a book containing a list of medicinal drugs, the first farmer's almanac, the first cosmogony, theories about the origins of the universe, the first proverbs, and the first literary debates. In addition to these achievements, the Sumerians are recognized for establishing the first bicameral Congress, making them the pioneers of a two-chamber legislative system. They also had the first historians, who documented events and preserved them for future generations. The Sumerians were the first to create a library catalog, organizing their vast collection of written works. They even produced the first stories resembling those of biblical figures such as Moses and Noah, along with the first written texts about a figure similar to Job. Their contributions also extended to medicine, agriculture, the textile industry, and many other fields that laid the groundwork for future civilizations. The Sumerians' remarkable legacy of firsts in various domains demonstrates their profound influence on the development of human civilization. Sometime during the 4th millennium BC, as the Sumerian society was beginning to take on the shape and characteristics of a full-fledged civilization, the need for a more effective means of recording and storing information became increasingly evident. The Sumerians, along with other Mesopotamian peoples who followed them, chose clay as their primary medium for writing. The choice was logical and practical. Clay was abundant, inexpensive, and, when properly fired, nearly indestructible. More perishable materials would not have sufficed, especially given that even in these early days of civilization, Sumerian temples employed hundreds of scribes and archivists. These scribes filled rooms with clay records, documenting everything from administrative details to religious texts. The great epic tales of the Sumerians, many of which were inscribed on clay tablets, were not written merely for entertainment. Instead, they served as vessels for knowledge, preserving the wisdom and traditions of the time for future generations. The Sumerians developed cuneiform as their system of writing, which proved to be particularly suitable for their language. The Sumerian language was made up largely of monosyllabic words, meaning that nearly every word could be represented by a single symbol or character. The discovery and translation of cuneiform documents have provided modern scholars with invaluable insights into life in ancient Mesopotamia. Another significant tool of communication in this period was the cylinder seal. These seals were made from various materials, including stone, clay, metal, bone, and ivory, and featured designs carved into them. When rolled across wet clay, a cylinder seal would leave a continuous impression, effectively sealing storeroom locks, goods, and important documents. These seals often served as a means of confirming the identity or authority of the sender, adding a layer of security and authenticity to communications. The influence of the Uruk culture, which originated in Sumer, spread throughout the ancient Near East between the 4th and 3rd millennia BC. Archaeologists have uncovered Uruk-style pottery and architecture in regions such as Syria, Iran, and Turkey. These cultural elements were likely brought to these areas by trading colonies from Uruk, which ventured out in search of raw materials like copper, obsidian, lead, gold, silver, wood, and stone. Eventually, they also began importing tin, which was essential for making bronze, a metal that would later revolutionize tools and weapons. Before the rise of kings in Mesopotamia, it was the high-ranking priests who held significant power. These priests were responsible for organizing the population, collecting taxes, and distributing goods and services. They were believed to have a direct connection to the gods, or at least an understanding of divine will, which gave them authority in both religious and administrative matters. However, divine favor alone was not enough to protect the people from external threats. Priests and priestesses, despite their piety, were not necessarily skilled in warfare or military strategy. As the cities of Mesopotamia grew, competition for resources and farmland intensified, leading to conflicts between city-states. This environment necessitated the emergence of strong leaders who could lead men into battle. These leaders likely became the first kings of ancient Mesopotamia. Initially, kings may have been temporary war leaders, chosen to lead during times of conflict. However, by around 2900 BC, the role of the king became hereditary, marking the beginning of the early dynastic period, which lasted for nearly 600 years. During this time, rulers were given titles such as En, meaning lord, Ensi, meaning governor or local king, and Lugul, meaning great king. A Lugul might govern multiple cities, with several Ensis managing different areas on his behalf. This period saw the consolidation of power in the hands of kings, setting the stage for the development of more complex and centralized states in Mesopotamia. In ancient Mesopotamia, cities were typically fortified with high, protective walls designed to safeguard key structures such as temples, administrative buildings, palaces, and the homes of the residents. Among these structures, the ziggurats stood out as the most significant. Ziggurats were massive, step pyramid temples that were considered the earthly dwelling places of the city's patron gods. These temples were not only religious centers but also the wealthiest and most influential institutions in the city, primarily managed by priests who oversaw their operations and vast landholdings. The Sumerian gods, much like the gods of later Greek and Roman mythology, were depicted as human-like beings with distinct personalities, emotions, and a tendency to intervene in human affairs. These temples were not only religious centers but also the wealthiest and most influential institutions in the city, primarily managed by priests who oversaw their operations and vast landholdings. The Sumerian gods, much like the gods of later Greek and Roman mythology, were depicted as human-like beings with distinct personalities, emotions, and a tendency to intervene in human affairs. The Sumerians worshipped gods that governed various aspects of life and nature, from the sky and sun to everyday objects like plows and bricks. Each city typically had a patron deity who was believed to protect and guide the city's inhabitants. For example, in the city of Uruk, the sky god had his primary temple, although the city's patron deity was Inanna, the goddess of love and war. By the time of the early dynastic period, Enlil, the god of air, had become the most powerful deity, with his sanctuary located in the city of Nippur. Other prominent gods included Enki, the god of fresh water and patron of the city of Eridu, Utu, the sun god associated with justice and patron of the cities of Sippar and Larsa, and Nana, the moon god and patron of Uar. In Lagash, Ningirsu, the god associated with farming and war, was the city's patron deity, and his primary temple was located in Girsu. By around 2500 BC, royal inscriptions and portraits of individual kings began to emerge, providing valuable insights into the political history of Sumer. One of the earliest inscriptions features Uarnansha, the ruler of Lagash who reigned from approximately 2494 to 2465 BC. A well-known depiction of Uarnansha can be found on a limestone relief currently housed in the Louvre Museum. In this relief, the king is shown with a basket of clay bricks on his head, symbolizing his role in one of his key religious duties, caring for the temples of his kingdom, particularly those dedicated to Ningirsu, the patron deity of Lagash. In addition to his religious responsibilities, Uarnansha also served as the military leader of Lagash, engaging in conflicts with neighboring city-states like Uar and Umma. However, by the 24th century BC, the once powerful city of Lagash had fallen under the control of its priests. During this period, the priests, including a ruler named Lugulanda, imposed heavy taxes on the population, leading to widespread debt and corruption. The situation became so dire that some parents were forced to sell their children into slavery to pay off their debts. After 6 years of oppressive rule, Urukagina, a reformer, overthrew Lugulanda and introduced a series of reforms that possibly included the first written code of laws. These reforms were aimed at protecting the common people from exploitation and reducing the power of the corrupt priestly class. Despite these efforts, Lagash's weakened state left it vulnerable to external threats. In 2341 BC, Lugul-Zagizi, the ruler of the neighboring city-state of Umma, launched a successful attack on Lagash. He conquered the city, destroying its capital and many of its temples, including those dedicated to Ningirsu. The devastation of Lagash was so profound that a scribe from the city cursed Lugalzagizi for his actions, lamenting the destruction and the suffering inflicted upon the city and its people. Lugalzagizi, the ruler of Umma, was a powerful and ambitious leader in ancient Mesopotamia. He claimed to control all of Sumer, a region that included many city-states, and boasted of an empire stretching from the Persian Gulf all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. However, modern scholars are skeptical of these claims. While Lugalzagizi likely exerted significant influence over many city-states, it is doubtful that he truly ruled over all the lands he professed to control. This exaggeration might have been more of a political statement than a reflection of actual territorial dominion. Amidst this era of great leaders and emerging empires, one figure stands out as a seminal force in ancient Mesopotamian history: Sargon of Akkad, also known as Sargon the Great. Born around 2334 BCE, Sargon's life is surrounded by both historical facts and legendary tales. According to tradition, Sargon was born to a lowly family and, as a baby, was cast adrift in a basket on the Euphrates River. This story echoes the later biblical tale of Moses, though in Sargon's case, he was found and raised by a gardener. This humble beginning did not dictate his future. For Sargon rose to become one of history's first great conquerors. Sargon's early life was marked by a steady ascent to power. He eventually became the cupbearer to Uarzababa, the king of Kish, a position that, while seemingly modest, was actually one of considerable influence. The role of cupbearer was often given to a trusted individual, as it involved serving the king directly and could lead to greater opportunities within the royal court. This position set the stage for Sargon's remarkable rise to power. Sargon's path to greatness truly began with his military achievements. His most significant early victory was the defeat of Lugalzagizi, the very ruler who claimed to control all of Sumer. Lugalzagizi had managed to unite much of Sumer under his control, but Sargon's military prowess proved too much for him. With the defeat of Lugalzagizi, Sargon did more than just overthrow a rival. He established the Akkadian Empire, marking a new chapter in the history of the ancient world. The Akkadian Empire, founded by Sargon, was the first empire in recorded history to bring multiple city-states and regions under the control of a single ruler. Sargon's empire extended across Mesopotamia, a region that includes modern-day Iraq, and reached into neighboring territories. This vast expanse of land had never before been unified under one rule, making Sargon's achievement unprecedented. His empire included not just the cities of Sumer, but also territories far beyond, laying the groundwork for what would become a new era of imperial rule in the ancient Middle East. Sargon was not only a great military leader, but also an astute administrator. One of his most significant administrative reforms was the establishment of Akkadian as the official language of his empire. This move helped to unify the diverse regions under his control, as it provided a common language for administration, trade, and governance. The centralization of power under Sargon also meant that decisions were made from a single authoritative center, which helped maintain control over his vast empire. Beyond his political and military achievements, Sargon's life is intertwined with fascinating legends, particularly his supposed connection with the divine Anunnaki. According to some accounts, Sargon had a close relationship with the warrior goddess Inanna, also known as Ishtar. This connection was not just a political alliance, but was said to be a romantic one, resulting in a union that produced a daughter named Enheduanna. This daughter, born around 2285 BCE, would go on to leave an indelible mark on history as one of the most influential figures of her time. Enheduanna was not just any daughter of a king. She was a high priestess, a powerful religious and political figure in her own right. She served as the high priestess of the moon god Nana in the city of Ur, one of the most important cities in ancient Mesopotamia. Enheduanna is recognized as the world's first known poet, credited with composing hymns and poems dedicated to the goddess Inanna, her divine mother. These literary works are among the earliest examples of written literature and provide deep insights into Sumerian spirituality and culture. One of Enheduanna's most famous literary works is titled The Lady of the Largest Heart, a poem dedicated to the goddess Inanna. The poem is a powerful expression of devotion and provides a glimpse into the complex relationship between the divine and the earthly realms in Sumerian thought. The poem describes Inanna as a fierce and powerful deity, capable of both nurturing and destruction. It portrays her as a goddess who holds the powers of the universe in her hands, controlling the forces of nature and the fates of humanity. The poem reads, "Lady of all powers, in whom light appears, radiant one, beloved of heaven and earth, tiara-crowned priestess of the highest God, my lady, you are the guardian of all greatness. Your hand holds the 7 powers. You lift the powers of being. You have hung them over your fingers. You have gathered the many powers. You have clasped them like necklaces onto your breast. Like a dragon, you poisoned the land when you roared at the earth. In your thunder, nothing green could live. A flood fell from the mountain. You, Inanna, foremost in heaven and earth. Lady riding a beast, you rained fire on the heads of men. Taking your power from the highest, following the commands of the highest, Lady of all the great rights, who can understand all that is yours? In the forefront of the battle, all is struck down by you. O winged lady, like a bird you scavenge the land, like a charging storm you charge, like a roaring storm you roar, you thunder in thunder, snort in rampaging winds, your feet are continually restless. Carrying your harp of sighs, you breathe out the music of mourning. It was in your service that I first entered the holy temple, I, Enheduanna, the highest priestess. I carried the ritual basket. I chanted your praise. Now I have been cast out to the place of lepers. Day comes, and the brightness is hidden around me. Shadows cover the light, drape it in sandstorms. My beautiful mouth knows only confusion. Even my sex is dust. This poem, like many of Enheduanna's works, reveals not only her deep spiritual connection to Inanna, but also the struggles and hardships she faced in her role as High Priestess. It is a reflection of the profound challenges that came with holding such a significant position in Sumerian society. Enheduanna's legacy is not just in her literary contributions, but also in the way she embodied the fusion of divine and mortal roles in ancient Mesopotamia. As the daughter of Sargon and the High Priestess of Uar, she was a bridge between the earthly realm of human rulers and the divine realm of the gods. Her hymns and poems have survived for millennia, providing us with a unique window into the religious and cultural life of ancient Sumer. Her work remains a testament to the rich intellectual and spiritual heritage of one of the world's earliest civilizations. The idea that the Sumerians were the templates for humanity as we know it today is a relatively recent discovery that has begun to reshape our understanding of ancient history. As more people learn about this remarkable civilization, it becomes clear how deeply modern humanity is connected to the Sumerians. This connection is supported by a wealth of evidence gathered over the past 150 years through archaeological, anthropological, and genetic studies. These discoveries suggest that the Sumerians were not only the founders of the first great civilization but also the ancestors of a new, engineered humanoid species. This species was taught advanced knowledge, including the use of powerful technology, by beings that were once considered gods but are now increasingly thought to have been ancient aliens. These extraterrestrial beings, often referred to as the Anunnaki in Sumerian mythology, possessed advanced technology that seemed miraculous to the people of that time. Some theories even connect these ancient aliens to the legends of lost civilizations such as Atlantis and Lemuria, which are said to have been centers of great knowledge and power before their mysterious disappearance. According to these theories, the Anunnaki played a crucial role in shaping early human societies, imparting knowledge that would lay the foundation for all future civilizations. However, the story does not end with humanity as mere students of these powerful beings. There is a growing belief that humans have the potential to surpass even the Anunnaki, not only in terms of technology but also in spiritual development. While the ancient aliens may have led humanity down certain paths, some of which may have been misguided or self-serving, humans possess an inherent power that comes from a deeper, more universal source. This power, gifted by the Creator of all, lies within each person and has the potential to shape reality in profound ways. Understanding the history of humanity's first civilization, the Sumerians, can offer valuable lessons for the present and the future. By studying their achievements and their interactions with the Anunnaki, we can gain insights into the dangers of allowing ourselves to be manipulated by powerful elites, whether they be earthly or extraterrestrial. This knowledge can help us stay on a path of light and truth, recognizing that all beings in the universe are interconnected and originate from the same divine source. The power to shape our destiny, both individually and collectively, is within our grasp. This power is not just a matter of technological advancement but also of spiritual growth. By cultivating our inner strength and wisdom, we can not only match but exceed the achievements of any advanced civilization, including those of the ancient Anunnaki. For those interested in delving deeper into the mysteries of the Sumerians and their connection to the Anunnaki, a highly recommended resource is Zecharia Sitchin's book 12th Planet. This book provides a detailed analysis of the everyday life of the Sumerians, as well as a compelling exploration of the ancient alien theory. Sitchin's work sheds light on how these mysterious beings, once worshipped as gods, have influenced human history and mythology up to the present day. If you are new to this audiobook series and wish to explore more about the fascinating history of humanity's origins and the Sumerians, we encourage you to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you will gain access to future episodes that delve even deeper into these topics. We also welcome your feedback and questions, so feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts with us. Your engagement is crucial as we continue to explore these ancient mysteries together.